closer, please. Please, come closer.
So like whole table closer?
Yeah, like up here. There's plugins here, here. I don't know what that is. I will. Yeah, I'll give you. I will give you a copy of it for sure. Yeah.
My fear on the camera was taken.
The front row was full. I know.
What do you mind?
Well, you're
No, I mean, you're fine.
sitting.
No, it's okay that people are in the second row. I just don't want us starting in the second and going back. I would love
Well, we're
for
back.
you follow directions. You're going to get an A today. I don't know what that kid said earlier.
Do I get a sticker? Oh wait, another one?
No stickers.
I have a whole bunch of stickers. I'm gonna just
Here, I got something better for you.
everything else sucks.
I'm like, the screen size is a little small, so that'll be interesting. And you're not a smiley haha person. There, I emailed to your correspondence always very. I really like. Well,
I'm going to walk you through that. Yes, it is. Have you found where the
Isn't it?
I already downloaded
I did this, and because it says for preparing
I got
if
these
the
for about,
above
this is gonna be
package doesn't work.
$300
So I clicked on this one and this just go.
and I ended up saving about $500.
There should be a special,
I actually ended up buying some wireless.
there's a special, it's a separate little,
But for like some maintenance fees because my school won't do any maintenance on them because they're not macro running. And I understand they're confused too because Patience actually really can't use Chromebooks that well. They-
well, hopefully everyone had as good a lunch as we did. It was really nice. My name is David Williams, and some of you remember me, maybe. I've been coaching debate not quite as long as I've been teaching. In fact, I didn't coach any debate whatsoever until I had been teaching, it was my 8th year when I started teaching debate. And so I was just a theater person who got conned into doing forensics in Garden City for a while. And now I'm really more of a debate person. I'm not sure how that evolution happened, but it did. 3 years ago, I was at debate camp trying to figure out something to do because my job has evolved to a point where I don't really do much there, so I get paid to do very little. And I decided that, you know what, this whole paperless thing, I should probably start kind of investigating it, because we were using a template for the entire camp so that our evidence was all kind of formatted in a similar fashion. And so I started researching that. I spent a week kind of teaching myself how to do this. And that was on what we called Synergy. We don't use Synergy anymore, thank God. But then the following year, or actually that same, whenever it was the first year that we actually made it where it was okay for us to do paperless debate in Kansas, I did all that, not even realizing the rule had changed yet. And so I taught myself, and it was the luckiest thing I think that ever happened to me, because I had already invested a ton of time figuring this out, and then I needed to know what it was. And then I had to go back to my administration and explain to them how I needed a bunch of computers and I needed all this stuff and we were going to lose it. We didn't get it. And they believed me. And they gave me a few computers, and we've been kind of growing ever since. But the kids did not want the paperless thing. That was kind of scary for them at first. And it was scary for me, but I had already invested enough time to realize that I knew that there was so much potential in it, and they were going to love it. And anything to avoid filing the big stack of paper. How many of you wait to give the big giant stack of paper to if you give out, maybe you don't. You wait until after the drop date in order to give them the big stack of paper files. Because if you don't, they just go to the counselor, and when they get the big stack, and then you've copied a bunch of stuff for nothing, and your class will shrink. And so I learned that after a while, I would wait till after. But now, with the filing, essentially it is a completely different game. And the kids, I think the kids are way more, they approach it now in a much more positive way than most adults do. And because adults don't like learning new technology. We don't like learning technology at all, for the most part. I'm one of those weird people that enjoys forcing myself to learn new things like that. I don't know why. It's an obsession, I guess. So today we're going to be talking about paperless debate, and I'm going to be using Verbatim 5.0 to use all my examples, as well as Microsoft Word 2010. And hopefully you may remember where I teach. Okay. So we're going to be covering basically 4 steps. We're going to cover the install and setup process and where we find things. Then we're going to talk about pre-round use or evidence formatting. Then we're going to move on to the verbatim during the round. And then finally, troubleshooting and some stuff that I didn't know where to put it, so I stuck it in that area, and some things I learned just yesterday that, as I was preparing my lecture, that I thought, this is pretty cool, I'm going to use that now too. So I kind of got taught myself and just stumbled onto it. So, Windows. This is a Windows-based lecture. I have no idea how to use your Macs. They're very beautiful, and I know they work really well, but it's a completely different system. It does work on the Mac really well. I just can't tell you exactly how to make it work. I know once you get it where it's installed, where I can see the little, it's like the little template, not a template, it's just like a list of icons across the screen where basically all of your form, what's that might be?
Toolbar?
Toolbar, thank you very much. See, I don't even, that's not even in my vocabulary. See, that's a Mac thing, I guess. But anyway, the toolbar, if you can get where you can see that, then I can teach you and show you things. But until you can figure out how to make that toolbar show up, it's kind of magic to me on the Mac. But on the Windows, I'm pretty good with that. Windows 7 and Windows 8, those are going to be your options if you want, as far as operating systems. Anything older than that, Vista might work, I don't know. I don't know anyone. I had a student came the other day and said, will this work on Vista? And I said, you still have Vista? I didn't know anyone even bought Vista, because it was considered such an obsolete, it was just like a terrible system. But Windows 7 and 8 work great. Windows XP, no. Because you can't put Word 2010 on Windows XP. Word 2010 is on the next page. Mac, I can help you, I already talked about that. Also, tablets. How many of your schools have like a one-to-one? How many of them have it with iPads or tablets? How useful is that? Not. How about Chromebooks? Starting to get Chromebooks. Yeah, my district, they said we need to come up. We're gonna have adopt a one-to-one system. We really want you to look at Chromebooks. Everyone in the entire faculty of all levels said no. They said, we don't think you've thought about it enough, so they bought us a couple hundred. Turns out our technology lady married a guy from Google. Okay, and so she doesn't work at our school district. And we have 200 of these machines that work great as doorstops, according to what I understand. So tablets, not so hot. So if you want, the system that we use Windows 7, Word 2010, but Word 2013 works also. It's just a little different interface. All the systems work. And if you have not updated to the new verbatim, you really will want to. Hopefully, you want to after this is done. Okay. Some versions of Word don't work so well. If you have a student version, and this is where kids come to you and they'll be like, I want to put verbatim on my computer. Please help me. And you have no idea what they're going to bring you, or we're trying to teach them. You become like a teacher of technology more than being teachers of debate, it seems. Because I am working on kid computer almost all the time, because it won't work. Why does it do this? What's wrong? And then usually you just reinstall it and everything works. But if they have an old or a student version or the trial version of Word, no. Also, unless you're going to buy the version that you just put in a code when you buy a new computer and you want to upgrade to the full version of Word, if you're going to do it that way, that's fine. But if you're going to try and install from a new installation disk, I think those still exist, or download from Microsoft, make sure you uninstall every version of Microsoft Office that you can uninstall. Do not try to install anything on top of an old version. It might work great on itself, but when you put verbatim on it, it does not always work so well. And And the only way that I've ever been able to fix it is to uninstall the original version and go back to no Word and then do it again. So if you try older versions, usually it just crashes. Word 2007, don't even attempt it. How many people have Word 2007 on their school machines? Okay, then it's going to be a very difficult. The only one that worked for us was Synergy, and that's a very iffy kind of work for 2007. When I came back and figured that out, when I found out about Verbatim and started learning about that, I was like, we have to upgrade. And then our technology people made me pay for all the licenses for Microsoft Office, and those are only like $70 a piece because we bought them in bulk. Oh my gosh, that's a big chunk out of your budget. Depending on how your machine you have. So try 2010. You've got to figure out a way. And if you're a really, really good friend of mine and you have a big problem and you can't afford it yourself, see me afterwards and I'll talk to you. It's not illegal or anything. Okay, Verbatim. What is it? I'm pretty sure, does everyone in here know what I'm talking about when I say verbatim? I know that you do. I mean, most of the people in here are debate people already, or they've been debate people forever. And if you don't know, I wasn't sure who was going to be here. So, verbatim is basically a set of macros, or automated shortcuts, that gets installed on top of Microsoft Word. When it works beautifully. And we use it during creation of the files and formatting, and we also can use it during the round to do a lot of automated tasks that normally take us tons of time. When you're cutting evidence, how many of you find it annoying to try to underline when you're trying to, you got one little part here and another part over here, and there's skip 2 sentences and underline a part of the card, and you keep going that way. Trying to underline all that stuff is a big, giant pain. That was the first feature that I've realized when I was like, this is going to save us so much time. And that's just one of the things. Just in the underlining or making everything else smaller, the stuff that's not underlined. You're like, why? It's such a headache to try and do that. But my gosh, you click one button and it's done. And that saves you probably, 10 minutes on one piece of evidence. So you become crazy efficient at cutting cards. Now they still have to cut them and find them. Good luck with that. Okay. Where do you find it and how do you install it? So paperlessdebate.com, if you have the internet at your disposal, and I know you do because most of you have computers, you go to paperlessdebate.com. And I'm going to switch to my other machine because I'm going to show you the install and show you the new stuff that happens when we install. And oh my gosh. We didn't have two openings. I will go back to this in a minute. All right, paperlessdebate.com, this is what it looks like. You're going to click on the Paperless Debate Project or Verbatim Openness Paperless Debate Project. I don't have this hooked up on the other machine, but I'm going to do it here. It'll work. Right, so here we are. It also tells you but Verbatim, it gives you a little breakdown of what it is. If you want to download and install it, if you have a Mac and you have Word 2011, you'll click here. If you have a Windows machine and you have at least 2010 on your Office installed already, then you'll click here. And then it will start the process for you. And I'm going to show you what it looks like once you'll just click it and it will download. open in a minute. And of course, all my settings. Too many other files open. What? Well, tell you what. I don't know why my computer's doing that. This is what happens when I let my son use my computer. This is my older son. Once you are there, you can download it. I'm going to show. I have some other screenshots, and then eventually I'll show you on this machine. I'll go to I have it on this machine too, but it doesn't work because they won't let me install anything on my teacher machine. But I can install things on the student machines. So once you install, it's going to bring up it's just going to ask you a bunch of questions. You also make sure you don't have any Word documents open while you're trying to install, because if you do, then it won't work, and it'll probably fail, or just do something. It won't crash necessarily, but it just won't install correctly. So we can also going to go in and adjust our settings on here. I'm going to show you some of those now. I wish that this wasn't behind here, but I'm going to have to be at my machine to do part of this. This is an app from last year, and once you have installed, it's going to, some of these, I'm going to go to the settings to show you what some of the settings, stuff on the settings does. And because if you set the settings up correctly, it will make a lot of the features work. But if you don't do any changes to the settings, then a lot of the really cool things it will do, they'll just be there and you won't know what they do. So, to begin with, you want to make sure you have this button checked right here to automatically check updates. That's going to make sure that you always have the most up-to-date template, so that whenever you log on and turn on, you have a question?
Yeah, I ran the program, the Word verbatim, and we had it upgraded to Word 2013 this summer. And so
okay, go to your desktop. If you installed correctly, it should have installed that right there.
Just directly go in.
You want to click on it'll put a link on your desktop, which is to a blank template.
Gotcha.
When you open that, it's gonna ask you to do some things and change some settings.
Yeah.
And so when you really install it, it will ask you most of the questions you need to know to fill these out correctly. But if you don't fill them out correctly, then you can go back and do them on this way. Okay. And so did that work?
Yeah.
So now initial install, it's asking you a bunch of stuff.
Checks, I should just say go.
Usually I don't have to do much checking. Just hit next.
It says disable hardware acceleration.
Yeah. That's because you're in 2013.
Okay.
Yep. High school. Keep going. Don't. Next. 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 And you don't have to launch the tutorial because I'm going to show the tutorial here in a bit.
Gotcha.
Yes? Okay.
Oh, there's good old verbatim.
Right.
Or good new verbatim.
Yeah, if you can't get it to pop up, like you just open a regular Word doc, the first time you open it after you install, it might not, you won't be able to find the word, like the debate tab. This up here, the debate tab. Very important. You'll notice if you have a debate tab, Windows users, then you've almost certainly installed it correctly. If there is no debate tab, then it might be a non-verbatimized document, and that's something else we'll talk about in a bit. This information here, most of these things you just leave blank, but I would click high school here, because there's another section where you click high school and it changes the timer, because the timer is either going to be 8 or for 9 minutes, and if it's college, then it'll be 9 minutes. So if you just want to make sure you click whenever there's a chance to click high school. If they don't know how quickly they read, they can check their reading, their words per minute that they read, and by clicking on this link, it takes you to a website where you can do that. I don't do that with my kids. I don't really use the feature, but it could be something that could be useful, but more, I think if you're really quicker debates, where that really makes a bigger difference, and if you're reading just lay style debates, then I don't think that this doesn't really help you very much. But making sure you check for automatic updates. Okay. Let's see if we can. All right. The next one, please don't crash. There we go. On the administration tab, once you have everything is installed, it's working. This is a really, really important page. The always, I will put an always on mode, auto update styles. I also will click suppress dot check and suppress, there was another one. I think it's on another page. But I'm going to click verbatomize normal template. And what that does, that means it's going to take your normal Microsoft Word template, which normally opens up and just looks like Word always looks. And it's going to change that so that the default is that it should open up with the debate tab on it anytime you open any document. But it's not going to change any of your documents automatically or change formatting or anything automatically if you do that. It's just going to change the shortcuts, basically. It's going to change how those work. And if you have a Mac, then I don't think it changes much. Setup Wizard is also cool. If you don't understand, if you don't want to go through all this process of going to each page, each of these little segments, you can click the Setup Wizard, and that's what will run the first time that you use verbatim and just open the template. The very first time, you will run the Setup Wizard. If you skip that because you were I got this, I don't need to use that, I don't need directions, and then you change your mind later, then you can always make it happen and run it again. Let's see. Anybody else? I don't think that in the tutorial is also really cool. We will go through the tutorial in a bit, as long as my other computer will come back on and work. And the tutorial will go through a very, very, say, rudimentary explanation of each of the tabs. I've gone to a little more than rudimentary explanation, but it kind of covers what all this stuff up here does. And everything up there does something pretty cool. I don't use all of it, not even close, because unless you're using things like, anybody use virtual tubs when you use paperless? Anyone know what virtual tub means? I tried using it in Synergy, and it slowed everything down so badly I've never tried to use a virtual tub again. It also formats my Word documents. So once you get the settings down, then we're going to see if. I don't think it would work. This is just good for moving. This is a new feature on Verbatim 5.0, and this is the side-by-side feature. There's a single button that will allow you to view both any documents you choose, but it'll just put your speech document on one side and all your other documents, or whatever one you want, on the other side, so that you can see them basically moving from one thing to another if you really want that. And you get to, it shows you can choose how much percentage you want to have. Also, that nav pane cycle open thing, that's another program that I haven't ever tried to figure it out because I haven't downloaded the program. I barely even installed the programs that I have because it takes so long to get it through the disk.
What's the difference between WebView and DraftView?
WebView is really wide.
Okay.
DraftView looks like a paper. It looks kind of like pages.
Fits it all on one. Tries to fit it all on one page.
Well, WebView uses the entire screen, and it does not. But the other one looks actually like a Word doc.
Okay.
So if you have a web page, it looks more like a web page.
Which do you recommend?
While I'm formatting cards, doesn't matter. I usually use DraftView just because then kids that's what they're used to seeing on pages. But the WebView, you can get a lot more information, but when we're debating, we use read mode.
Right.
We don't use anything else but read mode. When you're reading, you use read mode, and you will find out a bit. This is another. This one is all these are about a bunch of new features also. For instance, auto save new speech doc. Save you a bunch of time if you don't. Every time you need to create a speech doc, that you don't have to pick where it saves. What I've done is that if you click this box and then you click this button here, it's going to ask you where do you want to save your documents, and I choose in Dropbox. And our Dropbox has a special folder in for this year's topic, and all of our speech documents for every computer on our team go automatically to that folder. Strip speech when sharing, I'm not really sure what that means, but I think that means whenever you share evidence, it doesn't share every bit of it, but this is a different feature. That's a college feature I don't use. Anybody else use the sharing feature on it? Have you ever used that one? As I know that you can like export sites.
I'm guessing what it doesn't share would be any analytics that you write in.
Okay. Or maybe it doesn't share like the comments.
It shares the evidence, but not your comments or your analytics.
Or the warrant extension stuff that you might put out.
I would guess.
Okay, but I just don't do that. That's just me. Once you select it, it just makes it so much easier because anytime you can just try to send something to a speech doc, and it will automatically, if there's not one created, it'll automatically ask you what do you want to call it. You type it in, and then the doc comes up, and it's there. There is no other step. There isn't, oh, what am I going to call this? Where do I want to really put it? And all that decision about, and then I just tell kids, just once we get it set, and in fact, we do an image of our laptop, and they bring that to me, and I approve the image from the district, the tech guys. It's like, is this all you want on it? And then I have to go through here and make sure all of these things are set correctly, because then they're going to copy each of my computers to do the exact same thing. But you don't want to have to do this one at a time on each machine if you can avoid it. Or try to get kids themselves, if they're personal machine, hopefully they'll be able to, you can help them with that. Default search directory. This is, either I was dumb and didn't know it, I don't know, but this is a really fun tool that's new to me. You can select what you want, where your default search is. This box searches whatever you tell it to search in the default folder. So we just go to I make that our Dropbox for Oceans 14, and then anytime I search here, it searches every document I have open, as well as every document in the folder that I've chosen. And then it brings up a list of documents that I have to choose from, and I don't have to navigate away from this page in order to look at them. I don't have to go down to the bottom and try to go to open or anything like that, or go open another like a folder view of that and search just the folder and that folder and where I can do that in a minute. But I just thought that was really cool because now just one more thing, we don't have to go away from this document to even search now. That is if you're just searching in Dropbox. If you're searching online or whatever, then this doesn't do anything. Auto open directory, I think that just is like if you're going to open a new document or you go to open, it's going to go to a particular place to open first. So if you want to save time so you don't have to navigate each time to go to Dropbox, if everything is always going to be in Dropbox, then you can choose it to go there every time for the first. So then you have to navigate through a bunch of places. This is a new feature, audio recordings. There is a button up here, it says record. You can hit that button, and it will start recording everything that's going on. While I think this is kind of cool for practice, it will be against the rules for CATIA. I assume, since I know you can't do video, I assume you can't do audio either. But I think it's kind of a cool tool that kids could listen to themselves later, or if they just wanted a record of what was happening, it just goes and then you stop it at the end. But that's just to automatically add, just sets where you want to save things. If you want, you can make your evidence look however you want to look at it, the way you want it to look. I don't care. But you should probably have all your kids' evidence look pretty similar. Just for, so that just for uniformity, okay? I usually change things, like I would like the site and the tag are different sizes. In the default setting, they're both the same size. And I find that kind of annoying, because I like to be able to, I just need a little bit of, my eye wants them to look different. And so I make that change. But you can change them to any size font you want. I also, or you can change like the emphasis. You can choose it to be a box or just a italicized or just a bold. It's all, those are your choices. There isn't a standard, but it's however you would like it to be. Also, pilcrows and paragraphs and all that stuff, and that's all toward you. What do you want to look like? You want little paragraph things throughout your evidence of where you took away like the page breaks or the paragraph where you hit return, and then when you copied it from whatever file you were copying it from, like if you copied from The Economist, and it's got a bunch of breaks, so when you paste it, if you get rid of those to save space, you don't know where the breaks happen. But if you set it for pilcrows, then those little images will appear wherever there is one, so that you will remember where it was. It doesn't affect really how you would read it, I don't think. But for some people want that. I don't know why. And you can make it whatever font. Here is probably, I think this is one of this page, the shortcuts, you can rearrange them any way you want. Doesn't have, F2 doesn't have to be paste text. You can make it whatever you want. You can make F2 any other thing that's on the list to choose from. But it's just it makes logical sense when if you look at it. Also, paste text F2 is different than Control V. Control V pastes everything exactly the way it looks. So if you want to copy an entire document, like a Word document full of cards, you want to use Control V to paste those things. You don't want to use F2 because it's going to remove all the formatting from it. So if it's got a bunch of underlined cards and a bunch of highlighting that you want to stay there, don't use the F2 shortcut. Use the Control V shortcut. They do two different things. But when you're doing evidence and you're cutting it from, let's say, from any other website, New York Times, whatever, don't paste Control V, because then it's gonna put weird color. It's gonna put, if there's some of it's color, some of it's big font, some of it's small font, it's gonna paste exactly what you copied. But if you use F2, it will paste just the text without formatting. And so, but if you look, F2 and F3 are both really important features for the pasting and the condensing. When you paste it, even with the F2, it's going to leave the extra enters or return spaces. So you might have an end of a paragraph and there'll be a big block, a big space. It's not going to do that. It's going to keep that if you just F2, but then after you F2, then you F3. And that condenses it. So it makes it like an actual block of text that would look like a card, instead of half a page of random text with extra returns and stuff in it. But then F4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all formatting of the text. They're all headings. And those headings are how verbatim works. If you do not do the headings correctly, it will not send the cool stuff to your speech. It might send everything to your speech if you do them incorrectly. Or my kids were really terrible about this. One of my students who graduated this last year, remain nameless, didn't use verbatim, refused, because he liked doing everything the slow old way, I guess. And so when the kids would debate him, none of his files would work with verbatim. And I just liked it. It was just such an annoying pain. But whenever he just liked it to look a certain way, so he made everything look right, but it wouldn't operate correctly. Even though everything, everything was bolded that was supposed to be bolded, and everything was underlined that was supposed to be underlined, but none of it wasn't recognized that way by verbatim. And so when you tried to move things around, you would have to use the old copy and paste method, even if you had verbatim. And I don't know, it was just incredibly annoying. So, we don't do that anymore because he graduated. Okay. But I'm going to go more details on this later. All the rest of this stuff, Virtual Tub, Pads. Pads is a place where you store evidence online. We don't use it. Does anyone have a Pads account? I think it's maybe a college thing. Case List, also a college thing. If you want to put your Gmail in there, go ahead. And that way you can sit, it doesn't have some auto features that work pretty well. And then you have this other, but I would say that first row of information, that first row of settings, is really the only settings that I use at all. I don't use the back row of them, where those are all mainly college-based stuff. All right. Now, I don't actually have this installed on my computer, but I can still use the template on my computer because you can go to the same web page we were on earlier and download just the template. If you can't install stuff on your computer, just copy, paste, put the template on your desktop. Anytime, any kid can format his evidence using it as long as he starts off from that template. But just make sure they don't save over the template because then they don't have a blank template anymore. All right, let me get back to the other page that I was on. Okay, so hopefully installation and the setup, if you have other questions about installation and setup, I can help you. I have a copy of verbatim here on the jump drives if you can't get it to work from there, but it's the Windows version. I don't do anything. And let's see, file creation. In order to use verbatim files, in order to use verbatim, comma, should have been, files should be created using verbatim template or converting it over. We're going to look at a document that's already created in verbatim, and this is the beginning of many, many small pictures, which is why I wanted you to move closer, because it's all about this stuff at the top, but I'm going to explain what each of the parts do. And if you know something that it does that I don't, please feel free to chime in, because I know a lot of stuff, and I feel like I know how to do it, but I learn new things every day. Just a couple of things. Debate tab, as long as it's there, you should be able to use it, but if that debate tab isn't there, you might have a button here that says verbatimize. If you do, then sometimes just clicking that button will will actually change the document into a verbatim, we'll make sure the debate template will show up and the debate tab will show up. The debate tab is where all the action happens. If you have it, you know it's working. Let's see how I use it. Okay, F2, paste. We talked a little bit about this, so you won't have to listen very much. This is where it's pasted without any formatting, and if you want to paste exactly what you copy, use Control-V. Let's talk about that. F3, condense, we also mentioned slightly, removes extra returns and spaces and makes it look like a single block of text without paragraph breaks. It also removes other strange spaces and other like strange things that you don't want there. I put a lot of these on the same page because they all do basically some very similar things. Pocket, it's a strange thing they call it, but that is the largest heading level in verbatim. If you want, the entire name of your document might be labeled as a pocket. It might be your first affirmative construct, not 1AC, but like your coral reefs affirmative, or whatever topic you might be running this year. But it's going to be what's all the way to the left side of the document map or the navigation panel. Okay? You do not, I rarely use this one at all. I rarely use anything but these. Okay? Pocket, where do pockets come from, you know? Pants pockets? No. Anybody know? It was a college thing. But if you print out a verbatimized template, a file, it will print the pocket, whatever's in the pocket, that set of words will be on one single piece of paper, and that's all that's on it. And then that was used, they would fold it over, and they would stick that into their tub so that you could see where that file started right there. It kind of acted like a file folder, or like a little tag on a file folder, sort of. Okay? So it was like a pocket of evidence, kind of like you would be in a big expando. Hat is just another level. It does the same thing, it looks a little different. Block is a group of tags. Hats are groups of blocks. Pocket is groups of hats. Okay? I don't know why pockets and hat became popular from that.
So would hat be like observation 1, or would you use that as block? It just depends on how much like extra stuff you want to put in there. The more you put in, the more of these you use, the more complicated the file becomes. Like if it's a gigantic 200-page AF file, maybe, then you're going to have all of these in there. It's for, because maybe you have this is for evidence. This is like the citation. This is obviously the tagline, if you know what that means, hopefully. And then the block is a group of tags. So like this would be like your shell. Your 1AC, this might be your 1AC, that could be 1AC, or this could be 1AC, and this could be inherency. And this could be the cards for inherency. And then we have another block for another stock issue, if that's the style that you choose to go back. Yes, sir.
Is it necessary for there to be more than one subcategory under a given heading? For example, can the hat have only one block in it, or does the system require that there be at least 2?
It can be one. But it doesn't make a lot of sense, because then you just have the one. Understood. So, but yeah, I've got the same question. It's like not necessarily the same rules as outlining, where like if you have a 1, then you have to have a 2, and then you have to have a B. So, but yeah, I don't think that you have to have 2. I'm pretty sure I've seen one just people. But when we start using these things in the round, these become really important. Because we're going to show it in a minute, you're going to see where the document map is where we use, and that's how we move things over to our speeches. We just click on what we want to move over. If we want to move over everything inside this block, we click on the block and hit the tilde, and it goes. If it's just one tag you need or one card, then you click on the tag. You can also click anywhere in the in that card and click, and it will do the same thing. And all of these items, tags through pockets, appear on the document map, on the navigation panel. Citations do not. Tag and regular card text, it's just unformatted text. Everything else, that will also not appear on the document map. So all these are different heading levels. Some are self-explanatory. There we go. These are the 2 features that made me like verbatim the most when I first started using it. The underline and the highlighting. The underline feature is F9, and if you select text and hit F9, it will underline whatever you've selected. But I don't like to underline that way, because I like to be able to just look at it and go, oh, I want to get this one. Now I'm going to underline something over here. And if you turn on the auto underliner, which is this shortcut, it will allow you just whatever you highlight automatically is underlined. Whatever you select is underlined. But you can't leave it on. If you forget, and you forget to turn off the auto underliner, nothing else works correctly. Well, about 50% of the things work correctly. But if something is like, why doesn't it send it? It's not formatting it correctly. It's probably because you're trying to work on the document while you're still in auto underline mode. And then you just have to go back, click that again, and it will shut it off. It does give you a reminder when you turn it on. It says, be sure to turn it off, or it's going to mess things up. F10 is emphasis, which is depending on what you set in settings to make emphasis do. I chose emphasis to be a box. You can also just choose it to be italicized. So if, that way you just select it. These people waiting to come in.
I think they're having a good time out there.
Okay. Okay, that's good. All right. And F11, the highlight, there's two ways to highlight also. You can do F11 the same way. This is like Format Painter. You can select, once you select this and turn it on, then you can highlight almost exactly the same way that you can with the auto underline. Okay. And I'm going to, I'll actually bring a document, that's why the other computer, I'm going to actually have a document and show you these features being used after we talk about them, okay? And F12 is a very overlooked part. Poor little F12 is always at the end. And it's the clear feature. But you need to F12 everything you ever paste into your document. If you paste something from somewhere else, and you can't get it to format it the way you want it to format, you've got too many layers of formatting on it, and you need to go back to nothing. Select the text that won't do what you want it to do, hit F12, and then try to put the formatting on you want to put on it. So if you were trying to make something a tag or trying to make it a block, and it won't do the right thing, it keeps giving you maybe turning it into a hat or something, then you want to go back, clear, then try it. And it will almost always work. So it's just extra formatting we don't need. The number 8, shrink. It's called shrink, and it's got 8 because 8 is the size of font that it's going to shrink it to. Inside, when we highlight and underline cards, there are some parts of the cards we don't underline. And we don't necessarily want to take up a bunch of space. And if you've seen documents like this where it's got that tiny font, well, this is how they create the tiny font. You just click anywhere in the card that you want to create tiny font. And then you hit Control number 8, or you hit the shrink button. Control the number 8, and it will change all of your non-underlined text to size 8 font. But because you've got taglines, it doesn't do that to taglines. It doesn't do that to citations because those headings don't operate under those rules. So that's why it's so cool, and it's just amazing what it'll do. Just bam. And then if you do it again, it will make it even smaller. So once the size 8 is not small enough, do another Control 8 and it will be even smaller. But unfortunately, you still can read it. So, what else we got? The convert. So, any questions about shrink? And I'm gonna get the Word doc and show it to you. I'm gonna go through all these things live and show you what it looks like. Okay? Convert. Convert button is scary to me because you can convert one entire document from one version of the template. Like if say you have Word, or not Word, but Synergy. If it's an old Synergy document, or a template that you don't recognize that from some debate camp, but it is not this, and it doesn't work the right way, this might be one way to make that document start working correctly. Is to convert it. It does a batch convert also, which means you can convert an entire folder of documents. You could convert your a lot of documents. Don't do that. Because if you don't like the one it did, you're not going to like the other 150 that it did either. Okay? So if you want to do that, do them one at a time. And if it works every time and you feel like, you're like, I think I got that, I will try it. Good luck, hopefully it works. But I rarely use it, only if it's like the last ditch effort, if this document just won't behave, it won't behave itself. Some documents just must be converted, and that's what you have to do. But use those carefully. Now, OCR, this is another new one. Anybody know what OCR means? What's it mean? I don't know.
Optical character recognition.
There you go. So if you have a PDF and you want to cut a card from the PDF, I don't know how accurate it is. I hear it's pretty good, because I don't cut cards in PDFs very often. But if you have the one on PDF and you can't find any other version of it, if you click this, then it'll say you just will navigate to your PDF. You draw a box around the text you want. It takes a picture of that, converts it to text, and pastes it where you want to paste it. It depends on the quality of the document. I don't know how accurate it is.
Now, does that also work for some reason, we found a couple articles this year that have been like published or whatever in like a JPEG form for some reason?
Right, that's like it's a PDF, like a really lousy PDF.
Yeah, effectively, yeah. So should that, at least in theory, work for that as well?
I could say, all I can say is try it.
Okay.
If I know that if it's a searchable PDF, I think it might work more easily, but I don't know if it has, I don't know if that's something that the PDF it changes with the quality of the PDF, or it just matters whether it's easily read.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. That'd be a question. Do you know?
My hypothesis would be that the PDF always has a strange, funky formatting that never plays well with Microsoft Word. We've all tried to paste from a PDF, and the carriage returns are just obnoxious. I think that solves for that. I'd be surprised if it was advanced enough to pick up text on a JPEG picture.
Okay, so it's not so much a guesstimate of what's on the screen as much as just clears up any funky.
I could be wrong. Scanners have had OCR technology for a long time, and
Right.
they picked up on the image. So,
You'd think that they could probably figure it out by now. It's supposedly way better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
But I just haven't gotten up to use it enough, because it wasn't that long ago that I upgraded to 5. It was this summer.
Yeah.
And so I haven't, but.
Well, Aaron's going to try tonight and report back tomorrow.
But he grabbed some screenshots. All right, so let's see if I can. Let's see if I can make this other computer good. By the way, it looks like my kid wrote this affirmative, their air conditioning stopped working halfway through, that's why the note is at the top. All right. So let's imagine. How many of you noticed this thing down here at the